Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here this morning. I guess it's day number 11 now, right? Yep, day number 11 of my 31 favorite rock bands that released two albums in the same year. This band releasing both of these albums back in 1974, so quite a few years ago. Most of the stuff is going to come from that time period because that was a common occurrence in that time period to have more than one album in the same year. Not so common anymore. And there was a period in rock history, probably in the 90s and early part of this century, where that was just not something that happened very often. But back in 74, not a totally unusual circumstance. So the band we're doing today is called Gryphon. Now, I do not own any of Gryphon's albums, although I'd like to have the whole stack. I've listened to them all, went through a period of listening to them. I really like this band a lot. The two albums we're doing today, Midnight Mushrooms, early in 74, and Red Queen to Gryphon 3, later in 74. Those are the two albums. These are two of their best albums too. Midnight Mushrooms is probably kind of the first kind of progressive rock album by them, although it did have a lot of that medieval sound to it as well. And the one thing about this band that is very obvious very quickly when you listen to them is the amount of instruments that they do use. They use a lot of stuff, a lot of different instruments, all kinds of woodwind instruments, brass instruments, all kinds of stuff throughout their music, giving it that kind of medieval feel to it, but also very progressive in their arrangement. The lyrics are a little on the quirky side as well. Not every song has vocals to it, but a lot of them do, especially on the Red Queen album. Not as much on the Midnight Mushrooms. Now, I do like the Midnight Mushrooms album a lot. I just think the Red Queen to Gryphon 3 is just a slightly better album. Only has 4 tracks. All of them are really good. This is when they really start to take off progressively, become a much more progressive band with a lot of stuff going on here. Throughout these particular two albums, especially on this one, which I think is a fantastic album. It was introduced to me by Ben, the group was. I had known of them, but I never really got into following them, and he kind of put one of their albums to me, this Red Queen album, which ended up in one of the band wars. I did like it a lot. It really took off for me at that point in time. So it was an almost necessity to have them in this month's series because they were both in the same thing in the same year. Great albums, both of them. Highly recommend that if you like progressive stuff and you like that kind of folky, kind of medieval sound in your progressive stuff, you are going to love these guys. Some people say they're a little bit on the boring side. Their first album, maybe not so much of a rock album even. I don't even think I would classify it as a rock album. Definitely the second one and third one are both very, very much. I think these are probably their two best albums. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of my 31 favorite rock bands that released albums in this two albums in the same year. Sorry, I was getting all tongue-tied there. And if you did, please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to make any comments about Gryphon or about either of the albums, you can put that in the comment section below. If you have any questions, you can do that as well. And we will be back tomorrow with another episode of my 31 favorite rock bands who released two albums in the same year. So take care and have a good one.